got that mustard seed component that the gospel always does. It can work just in your choices in your life. We see the big fruit, of course, but where did that come from? It came from you. It came from me. It came from like individual members of the body of Christ saying yes to these things. Christian education in a historical sense built a civilization that then became a witness to Christian education, whether you're Christian or not. And it influences the whole terms of the whole world. And that's the case with all Christian education. That dynamic writ large that I'm describing. But that dynamic takes place with you and me too. When we teach our family as parents, as the primary educators, and if you have children, you raise up a family and you teach them the Catholic educational terms of life, that's not just for you. Like, that makes you a witness in the society around you, in the communities that you participate in. If you go and play hockey with people of all different stripes, you're that family, that actually is saying to the coach, for example, well, you can't do it on Sunday. Like it's the Sabbath day. I'm sorry that you can't do that. And Junior's a star player, but he's not going to play. There was a great example, and this is Christian education, and specifically not a Catholic, but Eric Liddell is famous from a movie from a long time ago, before anybody but me in here was born, but it was a famous movie. It was called Chariots of Fire, and he did that. He was in the Olympics in the 1930s. He was a Presbyterian from Scotland, but he went with the UK team, and he didn't compete in his race because he was like, it's Sunday. I'm not competing. And it's like, wow, like that's a witness. And that's from his education. But that's a story that's still told. I mean, there was a Hollywood movie that made about his life, and Eric Liddell wound up, going and dying in China as a missionary. But his life was a missionary life before that happened. So there's this real powerful connection too across the different aspects of education. Christian education actually jumps back in across to the general education and like hits. Because Christianity makes life more fruitful, because it's more properly ordered to the reality, just like that goldfish being in a tank. It's good if you feed it. It's nicer if you give it some like habitat. It's nicer too if you have an aerator in there to kind of keep the water good and fresh. It's nicer too if you clean the tank. Like, there's all these different levels that you can take it to, right? You can keep the goldfish barely alive, or you can like make it flourish and really grow, and you can give it a bigger tank and it might actually start to grow. I've heard that goldfish will grow bigger. I've never tried that myself, but that's what I've always heard. Well, yeah, I mean, I see the big ones in the conservatory pond and stuff that are actually full-size carp, and they look like, well, that must be the same type of fish, right? But your little goldfish doesn't ever get that way. So anyway, like, if you can do all kinds of things. It's like, look at that difference, like that huge fish. If the goldfish can get that big, it's a context thing. That's one example of how creatures respond to right cultivation of their environment. We are creatures too. And we see this that's what we're seeing in that whole thing about Christian civilization, about, the German pig hunters becoming the Gothic cathedral builders. It was an environmental shift that brought them that. It was the context of culture that brought them that. And that started with their education in the Christian foundations of things. But it redounded on everything else. And then it became the benchmark of the world in their ideas and in their conversations and their technology, but also in their morals. So, like, that goldfish concept is amazing. Like, that's a huge dynamic across the fields of education that we have to keep in mind, because it's huge, but it's also it's got that mustard seed component that the gospel always does. It can work just in your choices in your life. And that's actually where it's grounded, always grounded. We see the big fruit, of course, but where did that come from? It came from you. It came from me. It came from individual members of the body of Christ saying yes to these things.